We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no permission slips. We interrupt your daily programming to bring you a transmission from behind the veil of silence. This is a story of hubris, of panic, and of a fatal miscalculation that may very well bring the entire Trump house of cards crashing down. Melania Trump may be in big trouble in a case involving the Epstein files, and it is all because she brought it on herself. She is screwing over herself, and in doing so she is screwing over Donald. You will recall that she has continued to threaten journalists and reporters who dare report that there may be connections between her and Jeffrey Epstein. She says to even insinuate that there are connections is defamation. She has been threatening this journalist and that journalist, but let us look at the reality. Melania, there are lots of photos of you and Donald, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell. There are at least a few of them that are out there circulating. Let us just say that, so maybe you want to just come clean about it. Instead, she threatened the wrong person. As you know, Michael Wolff, who you have seen many times, here be interviewed on the Midas Touch network, was Trump's former biographer, and he knows Melania. He knows Donald. There is nothing, I think, more that Michael Wolff would like to do than learn more about them. When she threatened to sue him when she gave him a deadline because he wrote articles about her purported connections with Epstein, which she denies, Michael Wolff said, "I am not going to apologize to you by your deadline. I am not going to be afraid that you are threatening to sue me for $1 billion. Author Michael Wolff turned around and sued her in New York State Court under a theory of her committing anti-SLAPP violations. These are strategic lawsuits against public participation. In other words, he is saying, I am invoking my First Amendment right as a journalist to report on you, and you threatening to sue me is chilling my speech. Wolff argues I have a cause of action under New York law to sue you by you threatening to sue me to block my reporting. Let me go about my profession. So he filed a lawsuit for injunctive relief. He is really interested in getting that discovery and finding out and asking her questions about what it is that she knows or does not know. We all know Melania's background is shrouded in question marks. She said she graduated from a university in Slovenia that she did not really graduate from. It is a very murky past. How did she get here? You know, there was this situation where she met Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club in New York. She was brought here by a modeling agency that also helped introduce European girls and women to wealthy businessmen. And there was a party that a man named Paolo threw. Donald Trump was at the Kit Kat Club, and that is how they met. There are just a lot of question marks, and no one really knows what really happened there. So Michael Wolff is effectively saying, bet, I'm going to sue you. I want discovery. Show up, Melania. As you know from the prior videos, I made Wolff has tried to serve Melania with the lawsuit, and he said that she has been avoiding service. The lawyer who threatened Wolff, the one who said, please contact me if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to issue the apology to Melania, was called up by Wolff. Wolff called up that lawyer whose name is Brito. His last name is Brito. Wolff said, okay, I have the lawsuit. Can I serve you with it? Because you told me that you are the main contact. Then Brito Alejandro, the lawyer for Melania, goes, nope, I am not accepting service. Then Wolff said that Melania, has been hiding from him. So Wolff says he goes to Trump Tower in New York, and that he spoke with somebody in the lobby and asked if Melania lives here currently. The person said yes, but I am not allowed to give this to her on your behalf. But according to Wolff, the bellman or the person who worked in the lobby confirmed that Melania lived there. So what Melania did, though, was she did not accept service of the complaint. Instead, she filed what is called a removal action in federal court, where she tried to remove Michael Wolff's state court case because he filed in New York State Court, because he says, I am a New Yorker. She is a New Yorker, and we are fighting over New York issues, so it should go in a New York State case. Melania files in federal court. Notice that she has not filed a lawsuit against Wolff. She has not sued Wolff for defamation, which you should ask yourself if you believe that he defamed you and you gave him a deadline. Why would you not sue him and meet the deadline? You are Melania. You have all of these resources. In this case, you are represented by DLA Piper, one of the top law firms. Alejandro Brito is not DLA Piper. He is like a solo practitioner. He was the guy who Donald Trump got to file all of the ridiculous, stupid lawsuits that Trump filed back in the day when Trump was not in office. But DLA Piper is a top firm. So Melania, why do you not get DLA Piper to sue Michael Wolff? What are you afraid about? She has not sued Wolff. What she has done in federal court is what is called removal. She took Wolff's case, where Wolff is still the plaintiff, and she is the defendant, and removed it to federal court because she says I live in Florida, not New York. She is using an argument called diversity jurisdiction. This is taught in law school, but basically, she says, because I am from one state and you are from another state. Diverse states, and the amount in controversy is over $75,000. This belongs in federal court, not state court. Then when she moved it to federal court, she wants it transferred to Florida, saying that it should go to Florida. Where she wants the case to go is to Judge Eileen Cannon, so she is doing a two-step. Bring it to federal court, then transfer it, and ask the federal judge to transfer it to Florida. Meanwhile, even if you do not get it transferred there, this will cause massive delays, because Wolff wants to get her in a deposition. Wolff wants to take discovery of her and ask her these questions about potential connections, or connections that exist or do not exist, but to put her under oath once and for all. This is why, in my opinion, and I am giving you my opinion, I have a First Amendment right to make this video right and give you my opinion throughout this video. But I think Melania realizes that if she sues Michael Wolff, she opens herself up for discovery, and he can ask her questions about Trump, about Epstein that she does not want to answer. So he called her bluff when she said, "I would sue you." And now all she is doing is removing it to federal court. Well, Wolff is not done because Wolff is not accepting her averment, her representation, that she lives in Florida. He goes, the person who was in Trump Tower says you live in Trump Tower in New York. I do not really believe that you live full-time in Mar-a-Lago. I believe that you spend the majority of your time in New York, is what Wolff is basically arguing. You may say you live in Mar-a-Lago, whether that is for tax purposes. This is the argument I am giving. I am not giving you what I'm just telling you what the argument would be. So the argument would be you are living in Florida, either for tax purposes or just to say you live in Florida. They have, other rules there, laws there. You prefer to be in Florida, but in actuality, we know you are actually living in New York. And so what Wolff is saying is before we can determine if you are even allowed to file motions in federal court, I want to do a remand because Melania has powerful attorneys. Not Brito. Brito is a solo. DLA Piper, she is probably paying. I do not know if they are doing it pro bono for her, because she is the former First Lady, but those DLA Piper lawyers will be charging $2,000 or $3,000 an hour. They put teams of lawyers on there. They are a powerful law firm. They go in and they write to the federal judge saying, "We are ready to do this motion to dismiss. We think there is no personal jurisdiction. There is no subject matter jurisdiction. First transfer this case to Florida. But if you do not transfer the case to Florida, because she is a Florida resident, we think that there are other issues that we want you to address. And we do not think you have jurisdiction over this case. New York federal judge, let us bring this case to Florida." And then the judge says, "Okay, well, I will consider that argument." And then Wolff's lawyers come in and say, whoa. We do not believe that she lives in Florida. We want to take jurisdictional discovery is what it is called. We want jurisdictional discovery. So we want Melania's deposition right now. And we want the deposition on where she lives. And what Wolff's lawyers are saying is, we are going to prove to you that this case belongs in New York State Court, not New York Federal, but New York State, and that she is actually a New York resident, and that she is not telling you the truth is the argument that is being made by Wolff when she said she lives in Mar-a-Lago more. If you think about it, Barron went to school in NYU in New York, but then I think he is going to school in D.C. now. I do not think he liked it in New York or something like that. So he is doing a satellite program in D.C., which is suspicious and weird, and I'm sure there is more going on there. But we know how close Melania is to Barron. It would make sense that we know Melania was not living in the White House. So Wolff's point is, so you are telling me right now that while Donald Trump has been in D.C., that Melania has just been by herself at Mar-a-Lago at like the club, where you have the weird wedding with the furry characters, and the furry events and all the Gatsby parties. That does not seem like what Melania likes. We think Melania actually lives in New York at Trump Tower, and that we will prove that to you. So what Wolff's lawyer filed in this is this letter brief, and this letter brief says to the Honorable Mary K. Viscosal Judge, we want to take jurisdictional discovery right here, and we believe she lives in New York. In advance of us making our motion for remand, we request time in which to conduct this jurisdictional discovery. Any refusal to provide such discovery would create an adverse presumption against Miss Trump if she opposes the remand motion. So in other words, we expect her to resist our jurisdictional discovery. And when she resists, when she does not turn over the documents, then we believe that is an adverse inference. And then you need to remand the case to New York State Court, where we filed it originally, not federal court. So she cannot do the two-step and get this case moved essentially to Judge Eileen Cannon. Now, in terms of jurisdictional discovery, what Wolff's lawyers will want to focus on when they get Melania under oath is to try to find out how many days she has been living there versus how many days she has been living in Florida. So how would you go about that? You would want to request plane tickets. Obviously, she probably flies private, so you would want to request flight manifest, whether that is Air Force One or others' travel documentations. Where is she getting her mail? Where is she getting her credit cards? Where is she getting all of her services? So you would do all of this discovery to determine where she is actually living, and then you eventually take a deposition of her and you ask her. Maybe you even have to take the deposition of Barron or somebody else to confirm that they are living in the same unit together while he has been at NYU. Now this could be a big deal. This is obviously delaying what Wolff wants. Wolff just wants his day in court. She threatened him. He claims that is a cause of action. He wants to get this case going, but she's putting up all of these roadblocks. But if Wolff can prove that Melania is actually in New York and not Florida, and she has been representing Florida, likely for state tax purposes, and for other things if she is actually not really in Florida, that is a big deal that can carry with it an entire other set of implications, which we need not get into now. But that is why Melania may have found that a deposition will be taken of her on jurisdictional grounds. One other point I will make is you have Melania right now in D.C. It has been so bizarre. She held this press conference on Friday, this bizarre press conference on AI. Here is Melania at this presser on AI on Friday. Play this clip. She says, "The age of imagination is a new era powered by artificial intelligence, where one's curiosity can be satisfied almost magically in seconds. You are fortunate to have the capability to fulfill your dreams through the power of learning with AI, serving as the primary engine for creative exploration." There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Strange stuff. Strange stuff. But Melania is stepping right into it. She is inviting scrutiny she never wanted. We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no permission slips. We are watching. The files are there. The photos are there. And now, thanks to her own actions, the discovery process is coming. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.